Demon Slayer is a show that's very personal to me. I've seen it pretty much since it first aired back in 2019, to going to the theater multiple times to see every bit of content that the show has to offer. Now, about a month ago, I actually finished the manga, which left me as unimpressed as JJK did and still does, but also making me as hopeful for the anime as I am for Chainsaw Man. In the manga, the Infinity Castle arc spans a total of 66 chapters, perfectly worthy of a 24-episode season to finish the show off with a... Yet, Ufotable decided to take a completely different route. Because in 2024, after Season 4 finished airing, the studio announced that they would cover the entirety of the Infinity Castle arc in a trilogy, exclusive to cinemas. A decision loved by some, hated by more. I, on the other hand, was absolutely confident that they would nail it, since the studio thus far never disappointed me with their cinematic releases. That's until I watched Season 4 of the anime. Because I watched Season 4 1 month before Infinity Castle released. And this is not a review for Season 4, but it's an awful season. I feel like the only noteworthy episodes are the first and the last ones. But again, all is forgotten since, foremost, it's been a year. And on top of that, some would even consider this last episode that I was talking about to be the best episode of the show, making the entire world feel nothing but absolute hype going in for this movie. Now, we go to July 18th. It's a sunny day in Japan, and cinemas are stormed by people that just want to see how this show continues. And this desperation earned the movie a total of $230 million just for Japan. And fast forward to the global release of this movie, it is now the #1 Japanese movie that has come out in the US. I think we are at about 620 million, 600, something like that. And it beat nothing but literally itself. But with all the success, a good amount of people, and especially critics, actually didn't like the movie after finally being able to see it. Pacing issues, boring second half, and a lost feeling of sorts have been words that I've been hearing a lot lately. I have seen the movie a total of 3 times now, and I'm feeling pretty confident in my feelings towards it. And I have to admit, watching it for the first time, I felt as if something was off. I remember seeing Mugen Train and being shattered, blown away, and genuinely amazed. I was also shattered, blown away, and amazed by this movie, but couldn't help but ask myself this lingering question: what is wrong here? And after inspecting this feeling by watching the movie again and even again, I think I found the answer to this question. Demon Slayer Infinity Castle Part 1 is not a movie. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me explain. Now, in Mugen Train, we get an introduction of all the characters present, and we follow all of them go through their little adventures in these dream worlds. New characters are introduced, and we have one main antagonist to fight, on paper. Long story short, everyone conquers their dreams to snap back to reality, finish the demon off in absolute flashiness to save the day until plot twist kills a fucking key character that we just got attached to, and this story therefore ends in some sort of tragedy. And this works as a movie, since everything here is tied together and can be viewed at in an isolated state, which just means that you can perfectly apply 3 acts to this movie. Now, let's go to Infinity Castle Part 1. We have a total of 3 antagonists, a lot of characters get established, half of the main cast does absolutely nothing, and we focus on 4 key protagonists that get their closure on not built to partially built to very well built story arcs. These 3 character arcs are isolated from each other to push the story one step closer towards the finish line. Does this sound like a movie, or does this sound like a part of an anime season to you? I felt like I could tell you where an episode ends and where one begins just by the presentation and cuts alone, which makes it incredibly difficult to rate this, since it is not a movie but a cinematic experience. An experience that has immense visual power, an incredible feel for tone, and moments I will most likely never forget. Everything about this screams cinema. And I absolutely understand why Ufotable decided to show this to cinemas first. On the other hand, though, the backlash and the critique becomes a lot more valid in my opinion, since it is buy first, see first, instead of buy to see. Overall though, this is pretty much my only real criticism, since everything else is pretty much perfect on a technical scope. Talking about antagonists, all of them serve a purpose, but not all of them fit right with me. I feel like Kaigaku especially needed some proper mentions in the show. Zenith's moment with his Gramps is touching and had me in tears, but could have had me in waterfalls with the right build-up, which is a critique towards the manga to be honest, but still, since it's present here, I sort of have to point it out. I feel as if Doma is portrayed to absolute perfection, but even he missed this sort of tying knot towards the end of the fight to make the viewer feel some sort of hope towards the end of the movie in general. This is something that other continuations and build-ups to grand finales do better in my opinion. In Across the Spider-Verse, for example, Hope is portrayed by Miles' friends that want to help him and save him from this dimension that he's stuck in. In Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hope is portrayed by Zack and the main party that you grew close to towards the end of the game. In Empire Strikes, you get the point. Akaza, though, was perfect. He is the perfect villain and driving force for Tanjiro, an excellent opposition to Gyu as a character, and everything from the sound, animation, voice acting, and overall feel of this fight is the absolute peak of Demon Slayer for me thus far. But even I can't overlook the fact that the runtime and storyboard of this movie were meant to be a part of this season. But the level of quality and feel of the beginning of the end makes an experience more than worth my time. Everything other than this one fundamental thing fits perfectly and further pushes animation to its utmost limits. Even if story isn't a focus, Demon Slayer continues to show that even the simplest of things can move us to tears. But all of that credit has to go to Ufotable, the voice actors, and pretty much anyone except the mangaka. In my opinion, the manga is nothing but a mid-blueprint that is outgrown by the exceptional ability of Ufotable to put these things into animation that, honestly speaking, after years and years of watching, is a masterpiece in its own right. This movie, on an enjoyment scale, gets a 10 out of 10, and it gets a 9 out of 10 rating for me. And if I didn't say it loud enough, in my opinion, anime is the future of cinema.